All right, we're going to talk kale today. So kale is a delicious leafy green, and you can use it in all sorts of different things to cook. You can saute it, you can make a kale salad. It's really versatile. So today what I'm going to show you is how to harvest your kale plants. So these guys are a bit older. They were planted maybe 2 or 3 months ago. You can see that some of them are starting to bolt. And when I say bolt, I mean they're flowering. A lot of different plants flower, but when we use the word bolt, it usually has a negative connotation, and it means it's not a desirable flower for the plant. So something like tomatoes, they flower all the time. We want those flowers. We wouldn't say that the tomato plant is bolting. We would say, oh, it's flowering, we're gonna get fruit off of that. But when we talk about something like kale, I don't know if you can see over here, these yellow flowers. I'll bring this a little bit closer so you can see. It's flowering, which usually indicates it's time to pull that plant out. And what happens usually with kales is that once they bolt, they start to get really bitter. If you're into bitter things, it's still edible. It doesn't mean it's not edible. It's just the flavor is a lot more intense. And I would recommend, if you're using leaves from a bolted kale plant, to saute them rather than have them in a salad. Because when you saute bitter greens, it does reduce the amount of bitterness. Unless you're really into bitter, then go for it, make a salad. I still have these plants in. We're still getting a good amount of harvest. If you want to keep your winter garden going a little bit later into, late spring, you can still harvest from those bolted plants. Just know that the flavor is not going to be as delicious as when you first planted them. So let's get to how you harvest these guys. So you can see this nice long stem on here, and it's gotten taller and taller as I've harvested the outer leaves from the plant. So it's really important when you're harvesting kale plants to always harvest the outer leaves. It's super easy to do. So when you're harvesting, you can grab an outer leaf and you just snap it down, and you want to make sure to get rid of stubs on the base, because if you just cut it, I'll show you with my pruners, if I were to just cut it here, you can see on this plant, so there's a stub right here, and the place where I cut before, there's no stub. And what happens is this is going to now still draw energy from the plant, and it can be it's more likely to get diseased versus when you snap it at the base where the main stem is. It doesn't heal as quickly as it does by the stem. So really just making sure, super easy to snap those off. So that's how you harvest kale. The other important thing is all the new growth is in the center of the plant. So let's bring this guy over. So can you see right here is where all the new leaves are coming out. So if this gets cut, then your plant's done with, and you won't get any more harvest from it. So harvesting from the outer leaves will encourage continuous growth off of it, and making sure not to harvest really more than 30 or 40% at a time, so that it still has enough leaves to photosynthesize. So that's a little bit on how to harvest kale. You definitely can keep harvesting from them when they're bolting. They just start to look a little bit funkier, and the leaves are a little bit bitter, but it's still edible food. So, but you might also decide, okay, it's time to turn over the bed and put in some of my summer crops too. So with that said, that's how you harvest kale.